Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about this unexpected thing that happened to Amy and I while we were on a 1.5 year long trip from California to Panama. Many of you have been with us here on the Traveling Together Journal long enough to remember that trip, and I think you would all agree with me when I say it was freaking awesome. But I read an article today that had me thinking about this unexpected thing that we experienced. The article is entitled The Overlanding Code to Happiness, written by Ashley Giordano and available over on Expedition Portal. I'll put a link to it down in the description box. The article is basically about why overlanding makes us happy. But the part that really caught me was Ashley's thoughts on hedonic adaptation, which I looked up. It basically means that after a positive event, humans experience an increase in positive feelings, but then adapt and return to a baseline level. As an example, let's say Henry here is doing his thing, going through life at his baseline level, feeling okay. He wants to improve on that feeling, so he buys a big flat-screen TV. Henry is happy about his new TV and feeling good, but as hedonic adaptation says, he adapts to having the big TV, and it quickly becomes normal to him. So he returns to his baseline level of happiness. In the article, Ashley explains that investing in experiences has a better happiness return on investment than material purchases. But overlanding is still not immune to hedonic adaptation. And this was the unexpected thing that Amy and I both experienced during our California to Panama trip. I called it a diminishing margin of return. Amy said things were less sparkly. Whatever you call it, we were definitely both feeling it. But it took us a while to express what we were feeling, partially because neither one of us had ever traveled continuously long enough to experience hedonic adaptation while traveling, and partially because we felt guilty. We knew that we were fortunate to be able to travel and that we were in beautiful places doing cool things. So we felt guilty about not experiencing them at their full level of sparkliness. Eventually we broached the topic with some friends, fellow travelers that we had met along the way, that had also been on the road for about a year. And we all shared in the relief that we weren't the only ones that were experiencing less sparkle, and maybe we didn't need to feel so guilty. When I read Ashley's article, I thought about this and felt inspired to make this video for anybody out there that's planning their first long-term travels. Okay, so now we know that hedonic adaptation is a thing, and that we as humans are even capable of adapting to a life of overlanding to the point where it just seems normal and loses its initial sparkle. So, how do we get the sparkle back? Well, I've got 3 suggestions for you. You can stave off the effects of hedonic adaptation by teaming up with friends that you meet along the way. We met a couple of fellow travelers, Maddie and Ingrid, who were also heading south. We enjoyed similar activities, so we stayed in touch and met up several times along the way, traveling together for a few days, then going our separate ways. With the vast majority of our time being spent just Amy and I, alone, sitting next to our truck, repeating our conversations, it was nice to change the pace and add some returning characters to our story. Friends like these gave us a sense of community and altered the experience we had together. For example, instead of just Amy and I walking over to see some sea stars in Bocas del Toro, Panama, we were experiencing it with our friends, and that was definitely a different experience that brought some extra level of sparkle. But even after a few days when we went our separate ways, we would have a renewed appreciation for the calm of our solitude, and that would bring some extra sparkle back to the quiet nights under starry skies. Another way we brought more sparkle back into our overlanding when we were feeling the effects of hedonic adaptation was to have friends come join us on our travels. We had our friend Lindsay join us for 2 weeks in Nicaragua. Of course, spending time with an old friend is always nice, and something we hadn't got to do in a while. But she also brought the excitement of somebody fresh off the plane, ready for 2 weeks of adventure. And that got us to step up our excitement to adventure with her. We did a couple of activities like volcano boarding, which we would not have chosen to do without her, and she saw the sparkle in things that had become mundane to us. And this helped us get the sparkle back. It was like a contact sparkle. Even driving from one place to another, Amy and I approached it like a commute at this point, just another hour south on the Pan American Highway, then we'll take a right over to the beach. Meanwhile, Lindsay was taking in the sights with vigor, pointing out colorful trees or creative ways of transporting livestock. Having a friend visit you on the road is a great way of bringing some sparkle back and staving off homesickness. But make sure that they know you're on an overlanding budget, not a vacation budget, and plan on spending a bit more anyway. My third and final tip for keeping overlanding sparkly is coming up, but first, a word from our sponsor. Nature is mysterious and untamable. It can be dangerous at times, but natural places are where I feel the most calm and connected. It's the hectic rush of cities and social situations that cause me stress. If you're struggling with social anxiety like I was, it's important to know that help is available. That's where BetterHelp, the sponsor of today's video, comes in. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. First, you go to their site and answer a few questions. Then BetterHelp will match you with a professional who has years of experience helping people with struggles just like yours. You can do it all from your phone or computer, via phone call, video chat, or messaging, however you feel most comfortable. It's the easiest possible way to start talking to a therapist. Let BetterHelp connect you with a therapist who can support you, all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/travelingtogether and enjoy a special discount on your first month. We found that the most effective way to make overlanding sparkly was to stop overlanding. We were feeling pretty travel fatigued in Guatemala about 8 months into our trip when we stopped for 2 weeks of Spanish lessons. After that 2 weeks in Lake Atitlan, we were both excited to be back home in our truck, driving through the Sierra Madre Mountains on our way to the next adventure. We had been living out of our truck for 8 months, rarely staying anywhere for more than 4 days, and constantly in new situations. We had adapted, and this now felt normal. So staying somewhere, stationary, in a building for 2 weeks, felt novel. We had Spanish classes that gave us routine and structure. We had time to learn which stores or street vendors had the best produce or pupusas. We could even walk around town without looking at a map. And we knew where we were going to sleep the next night, and that we would have access to a toilet and fresh water. These things felt novel to us now. If you're out on the road and experiencing the effects of hedonic adaptation, you could just find a nice place and hang out for a couple weeks. But we found that the structured routine of going to class and having something to focus on was its own mental break from travel. If you don't want to go to a language school, that's okay. You could alternatively get a work exchange gig, like tending bar at a hostel in exchange for free accommodation. That's what our travel friends the Pin Project did. Gave them structure and time to hang out stationary in one location and get re-excited about being back out on the road again. Or if you have experience in an industry that's gone remote, you could rent a house while working a gig to get some more money in the travel budget and give yourself some structure. That's what Jesse and Jorge were doing when we met them in La Paz, Mexico, and convinced them to be irresponsible and go do some more adventures. Or you could look for opportunities to volunteer at places like an elementary school, or removing invasive species from a natural habitat, or helping out at an animal shelter. There's lots of opportunities along the way, and they all give you some structure and an opportunity to think about something other than your own travel plans while you take a rest from the road. So there you go. If you're on an overland trip and things start to lose the sparkle, don't feel guilty. It's just hedonic adaptation. It's normal. It just means it's time to meet up with some friends or get off the road for a little bit to get the sparkle back. Let me know how you keep it sparkly down in the comments section. Thanks to Ashley for the inspiring article, and thank you all for watching. See you next time.